For him, give it up for CJ enters herO.
herO's done a lot of cool things to earn those fans. I think most people probably, the earliest memories when the Pro League was still early was his infamous match against Stefano, where he broke the Pro League rules by saying good luck, have fun, and then herO responded just to make sure nothing bad happened to him. And then, of course, he's done like cartwheels on the Intel Extreme Masters stage as well.
But he's been around for longer, though, because even in the WCS Championships of 2012, when we were still playing Wings of Liberty, herO was there. herO was playing against the other herO in the Asia Continental Championships back then, also in the WCS Korea that we had in 2012. So herO was one of those first Pro League players to stand out a little bit. And of course, he stood out because, hey, it was like, hey, we already have a herO, man. Like, I know herO's great enough, but do we really need a second one? But you know, in the end, Nate, I'd say we do need a second herO in our lives.
I mean, everybody needs a herO, Roddy.
Yes.
And he's done a good job of that with that title, especially. I think a lot of his fans have to be happy with his performances over the course of the year. Classic, starting off this game with a little bit of aggression, it would seem.
Yep, and this is a pylon that definitely screams Stargate because, you know, if you put it there, it's going to be in between both bases, which just makes a lot of sense. That's not really a location where you want to hide the Twilight Console or Dark Shrine. Sometimes, you know, you can hide things in plain sight, but I don't recommend it, not in this matchup. So it definitely screams Stargate, and if herO scouts this, it would be fantastic for him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, because it's a three-player map, you know that your opponent's in one of those two bases. So if he was in the top right, he's straight in the mineral line. And even in this position, he has to go by the natural first, but it's still a closer position if he wanted to get an Oracle into his mineral line quickly.
Interesting, a Sentry is actually on the way for a herO. It's not something we see super often from him as an opener on this map. Could be for his own Stargate play, it could also be something else. What is even more important though is that herO's probe is about to make his way into the main base of Classic. What does he see over there? Oh, actually he doesn't see all that much because the Mothership Core just spawned. So that's good news for Classic at least.
Yeah, I feel like this actually really complicates things for herO if he was planning to go for a very quick Nexus. He has the Twilight Council on the way, and Stalkers are, you know, they're not bad versus Oracles. They're going to be able to push them away from your base, but with the Mothership Core not only not enough energy for Photon Overcharge, but it's leaving his base, a single Sentry will not stop an Oracle.
No, that is definitely a problem, and this is something that herO does pretty often actually in this matchup. He often sends his Mothership Cores across the map, and some people think like, well, he might be able to recall. The thing is, if you recall in this phase in the game, he doesn't even have energy for one recall, so there's no way he could ever recall and use Photon Overcharge. But he doesn't go all the way, he's just checking next to his base for proxies, and now the Mothership Core is making his way back home. There was also a Stalker as a follow-up of the Sentry, so I guess herO was just using this Sentry
the
as
Stalker
a scout.
walking out though.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. Does he have enough energy for Photon Overcharge immediately? I know it's close.
Losing the Sentry hurts. He's going to lose a couple of probes too. And for Classic, this is a really nice position because he gets to see everything that herO has at the same time, and he's not mining.
Oh my God! And he's doing a lot of damage there, and he gets out of it with the Oracle as well. So he gets the Sentry. He kills
7 kills.
He kills 6 workers, and he gets out, and he forces out a Photon Overcharge by herO. This is a dream opening by Classic. This is everything that you can possibly wish for if you open up with a proxy Stargate.
Now, he knows what's going on. The stage has been set. It's that blink play. He has his own Twilight Council coming in. Yep. He's added on additional gateways of his own. And at this point, with the less units lost, now he did make an investment into that Stargate that slows down his own blink tech, so he won't have it as fast, but his economy should allow him to put out more units to defend against a possible attack from herO.
And let's not forget that he should still have these Oracles on the map, so that will always force herO to keep a couple of units at home, maybe perhaps even more than a couple. Like 2 Stalkers, that is not going to be enough. If these units fly in right now, herO needs way more than just 2 Stalkers. Otherwise, he's going to lose 7, 8, 9 workers over here, Nate.
Yeah, that would really complicate things for him, especially because, you know, yeah, you might lose the Stalkers and then not as many probes die because they focus those down, but then you need them to actually make your attack work because he still hasn't done anything like plant down a Nexus, and that's, well, that's going to put you behind in the long run.
It's definitely in a pretty uncomfortable position for herO to be in right now. Of course, he's still up 2-0 in this series. As you guys see, we have a minor pause over here, making sure that everything is all right. Of course, there is so much on the line, so we want to make sure everything is perfect when the action actually keeps on going. Especially in PvP, Nate, especially with those Oracles around. These Oracles may just fly in and actually kill a bunch of workers.
I mean, the game could turn at any moment, and actually, it looks like managed to slip in there.
Yes.
Even faster than we could notice, Roddy.
And he managed to kill a whole lot of work. It seems like one Oracle did go down, but he killed 12 probes in the process. It seems like we're having a few lag issues over here in a very critical moment of the game, though. So I guess the best thing is to just pause it and make sure that everything is good when we actually continue on. I did look over my shoulder and I saw the Oracles fly in. So Classic just went for the suicide with the 2 Oracles, but killing 12 workers when you already killed 6 earlier on, that is a fantastic move. And Classic is really putting himself in an excellent position and should be in a very comfortable seat right now.
Yeah, I mean, the good news for herO, right, is that no matter which way this game turns out, he's got that comfortable 2-0, so the game's back on again, and just there's so many units for Classic at the top of the stream. herO's going to lose. Oh, well. He lost just the first unit, he said. I was going to say, I thought he'd lose another stalker there.
But even just losing that first stalker, Nate, he's only working off 13 probes right now. herO, as a desperate move, you could almost say, is going to try to add in the Dark Shrine, because, when behind, we do still build Dark Shrine, guys. It doesn't really matter what day and age of StarCraft 2 this is. A comeback unit, that's definitely what the Dark Templar is, but he's going to need more than that, especially because that Oracle is still alive as well. So that can always provide detection.
Yeah, I mean, in StarCraft 2, there's only so many things when you're in a lead that you think about as far as what can my opponent do to bring a game back against me. And as you said, Dark Templar are always, I mean, it's not like always a good choice, but they're never really bad because you're already in a position where playing standard isn't going to get you anywhere because you're so far behind. Given the way that the map is set up too, he hasn't even, like, if you don't have your expansion yet, and herO knows that, like, 1 sentry will be enough to at least force field you out and buy a lot of time, especially because you beat the Stargate, he can also build an Oracle if he needs.
I must say I really like the fact that he went for that second Oracle. That's not something that's a given, that's not 100% common, but that makes so much sense because that second Oracle says, like, hey, even if you have 2 Stalkers in that mineral line, you're going to need a whole lot more than that because you are going to lose every single worker. And well, he didn't technically lose every single worker, but he lost 6 with that first Oracle, and then he lost 12 more when the other Oracle swept in, so... good call there by Classic. I like the fact, this is Classic in a nutshell though. There's like a crazy opening and then at home, he's not even thinking about expanding yet. He's just like, no, I'm in a really good economic position now. All I have to do is just hang in there like a champ and then I'll be more than fine because I'm outmining you. This is a mirror matchup, so whatever unit you're trying to produce, I'm just going to produce it too, but then I have more of it because I have more money.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And also back to the Oracle problem, when you already lost those first 6 workers and you want to try to put pressure back, you have to keep your Stalkers at home. So you can't commit as much on the aggressive side. You don't have the ability to recall out, which, I mean, Blink can kind of help you with that problem, but then once Classic has it, you lose that comfortable ability to just step outside of a fight, especially, like I said, without recall. So he's in a very awkward position, and I mean, at this point, you're almost starting to think about maybe the next map.
No, I totally agree with you, Nate. Of course, there's so much on the line, so you really don't want to tap out too soon. And if you can still try to make a comeback maneuver with a crazy unit like, for instance, a Dark Templar or something else, and you always just want to go for it because, hey, it doesn't hurt to try. And if you would somehow make a remarkable comeback, well, that's going to feel really good. You have to reveal less of your builds as well, going deeper into this tournament. There's still another Protoss out there. He's on the other side of the bracket. Of course, we're talking about Sun, who is going to be playing in our next best of 5 against Live. That is promising to be one hell of a quarterfinal, but the less games, the better. But yeah, I do agree with you that slowly but steady, if I was herO right now, I'd be thinking about game number 4. And it's so, PvP is a really fun and beautiful matchup, but it's also such an unforgiving matchup. Because if that Stalker just stays at home in the start of the game, and you have a Stalker and a Sentry there, then the Oracle will most likely not even fight the Sentry, but will also not be able to do all that much, because there are 2 units shooting at it, and we just have a completely different game. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to pick off more than a few units, so... And that, I think, also comes back to herO not being able to get the initial probe scout at the start of the game because he wanted to send the Mothership Core, pulled it back, he's like, okay, I don't think I'll be able to get in. And then I imagine you want to send the Stalker out because you want to know if he went for like a 1-gate fast expand. Maybe you can just gut check him and see if he has his own Stalkers, if he's building sentries. And just that lack of information causes him to potentially overextend himself to the point where that Oracle was able to kill so many workers.
It could have actually been that one Stalker went on an adventure to check for proxies on the right side of the map because he used the Mothership Core to check for proxies on the left side of his base. So maybe then he just, like, I know herO does this very often. I've been watching a lot of his PvPs leading up to this quarterfinal, and I know that he very often sends out his first Stalker to go on a small adventure, check for proxies. If he knows that he's playing as a very fast 1-gate fast expand, then he will actually just keep it around, put on some pressure, like he did against MC in the round of 16. So herO pretty much a guy that always sends out his first Stalker, and that may have been something that Classic picked up on. Of course, course, you know, opening up with a proxy is always risky, especially if you're down 0-2, Nate. Takes a lot of courage. I wouldn't do it, but so far, it's proven to be the right decision.
I mean, sometimes you just got to do crazy stuff to reset the match. You know, there's a lot of momentum for herO going into this game. Classic, nothing had really worked out for him, even when you could say he had a couple of nice trades at the start of the King Sejong Station game. So, at the very least, if he's able to take this map, it restores a bit of your confidence. You're like, okay, I was able to knock him maybe a little bit off guard and at least able to make something happen, which wasn't really working for him on Nimbus or King Sejong.
No, he definitely caught a lot more momentum in this game. I do still kind of feel that King Sejong was a map where, you know, we have a little bit of time now to reflect on those previous two maps, but I really felt King Sejong Station was a map that Classic did not have to lose. He was slightly up in workers, he definitely stabilized in the Phoenix count. It feels like everything was going all right for him. He had a proxy pylon in his enemy's base. Like, that's something that he can really work with, but it just kind of felt that he just wiped in a single Zell just to kind of see if I can do something with it, see if you have anything at home. Well, yeah, there was exactly one unit to defend at home, no more than that. He scouted the Dark Shroud, he scouted the Gateway Explosion. I truly look at King Sejong Station and I'll say that that is a game that I don't think that Classic had to lose at all.
No, you have enough pieces in place and, you know, being able to defend all those pushes. But, you know, as we get everything settled to go back into this series, let's take a hear from the experts, man. They've been watching this pretty carefully too. How are you guys?
We're doing very good, man. I am joined here by Artosis Todd, but also MC and Smix. This has been a fantastic series so far. MC, I'm curious, you've been watching these games. What do you think of them so far? How are they playing? What do they need to do better?
In the first game, I think Classic was so scary against Phoenix fight. So he got huge damage from herO's Phoenixes. So he lost in the first game. And second game, Classic almost win. But he scouted herO's Twilight Council and many gateways, but he didn't make Immoral. And when herO's coming, he pressed Immoral. So that's why he lost. So I think Classic is so nervous on this main stage. And this third game, he's still winning, so I hope he win.
This is an interesting point you're bringing up here because when we saw Classic win in the GSL, the stage is not even comparable to what we have here. This is a lot of people down here, a huge audience. If you were to talk to Classic right now, if you could go in his booth and give him some advice, what advice would that be?
I think Classic's skill is very good, but I think he's really nervous now, so I want to tell him just stay focused and keep going. Yeah.
In game one, why do you think he took the other natural expansion instead of the indoors one?
You know, in Nimbus, it's so hard against 그 뭐지? 공중 거리가 이렇게 가까워서 좀 힘들다고 그렇게 자리가 나오면 그래서 아마 거기 먹었을 거다고.
Just with the positioning, it's just easier with that than if you were to take the other one. He just says it's just the way the positioning works with your army and stuff.
Okay.
Now, I want to ask you about MMA and how well he's been playing, because the winner of this has to go on and face him. I'm just wondering, you know, obviously MMA is playing super well right now. How do you think these guys would fare against MMA?
I think if herO advance, herO has chance because his TBT is very good, like me. And I don't know Classic, but he beat Port. So yeah, he has chance too. And I think MMA beat Bomber because he prepared a lot, I saw. So, and it's only one day he has, so it's gonna be hard because MMA's TVP is not good.
So you'd say whether it was Classic that wins here, you know, or you know, his opponent, is it going to be, no matter what, difficult for MMA to come out on top? herO would lose, take him out as well.
누가 올라오던 문정훈 선수한테 어려운 상대일 거라는 거 물어보고 있어요.
I think Classic is okay for MMA, but herO is really hard.
I actually have a question for you, MC. I know when you were backstage, you were talking about this particular matchup. You were just talking about the games, and when I asked you, you thought herO would advance. But earlier, you just said that Classic is a very skilled player. Do you think that herO will advance because he has more experience and isn't as nervous, or do you actually think that herO is overall the better player?
Yeah, I think herO advanced because Classic is still nervous, and herO is very powerful until final. So
So he's like a Sue?
yeah, almost.
Didn't herO beat you in a final before?
In Sao Paulo?
But
4-1?
it's
Cue the PJ
it's long
Salt.
time ago. It's long time ago.
Okay.
Actually,
Well, this is something I'm wondering. MC, you have so much experience playing all over the world in front of huge audiences, and you've had a lot of success throughout your career doing that. You've won plenty of tournaments, and the ones that you haven't won, you place very well in. How does a player like you manage to become so confident and so successful in front of a large live audience?
그거죠. 자신감, 경험 많으니까 자신감 있을 수 있고 그런 사람들이 어떻게 할 수 있는지. I think, yeah, experience is very important, but I'm still nervous when I play on the stage. So it doesn't matter for a big event. And when I practice a lot and when I win a lot, I have confidence. So that's why some new Casper players has confidence and winning. So maybe they are always winning in the gaming house.
That's very true. I mean, you do end up with players who win a lot in the gaming house, but then they come to a new environment, and it's a completely different beast.
I want to ask you, actually, at the start of the year, you were doing very well. You were rank 1 in WCS points for quite some time, and then you started like kind of falling, didn't end. You ended up pretty high in the rankings, but then you dropped out earlier in the round of 16 to herO. What's going on with you? Is the boss going to be back? Is it too much clubbing? What's happening?
It's when this year beginning, I have confidence and my life is good. But in the almost last August to now, I lost confidence and my life is bad. So, so I didn't practice much. And now I want to make good result in BlizzCon, so I tried practice a lot against herO. So it's very close, but I lost mind game, so that's why I lost.
So the boss will be back soon?
Yeah, I think so, because my life is good now.
MC, I actually have a question. Since you've been a veteran player and good for such a long time, is there a player now that still strikes you as, wow, he's really, really good, I'm really impressed by this? Or now is every player just kind of the same to you?
이제 베테랑 선수이잖아요. 이제 성적도 엄청 좋았고 상금도 많이 뗐고 이제 근데 지금도 새로운 선수 볼 때 와 얘는 진짜 잘한다 이런 생각이 드는지 아니면 그냥 다 똑같은 것 같은지.
Actually, when I watch Jest first time, I thought he's just a machine, no brain. And when he winning strike, I thought, oh, he's really good. So, when I stay best honor in StarCraft 2, I saw Jest and he's really good. Only one time, and Teja too. Yeah.
Out of all the players that we have here that are still left in the tournament, who do you think has the best chance of moving on and actually winning the finals of the WCS? Because everybody was talking about how Zest should win this. Zest got eliminated, which was a big surprise to everybody. Out of everybody that we have left, who do you think is most likely to win this entire thing?
Yeah, I thought two, just gonna be win or herO. So I thought Protoss win this tournament because so many good Protoss player here. Not Rain, but yeah, I think if Teja lost against Innovation, Terran no chance. If Teja win, Terran has chance. Also Zerg no chance because only one Zerg. And if Rife win, he will beat Innovation or Teja, so it's very hard for Rife, I think. So yeah, maybe Teja win. Terran can win this tournament. If Teja lose, Protoss win this tournament, I think.
So you don't think Life has much of a chance at all then? Or is there possible by any chance that because he's the only Zerg left here, that perhaps the other players haven't prepared as much against a Zerg?
It's possible, but it's hard because Terran is good against Zerg now. I think 60-40 PBG, so it's gonna be hard. But if Rife do miracle, it's good drama, I think.
Oh, I got to agree with that. We do apologize for the delay. We're going to go ahead and throw it to herO, and we'll be back here shortly. So stay tuned. herO, take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Tasteless and also to MC. Always love hearing his thoughts. Now, we are going to take a quick break, but I just wanted to point it out that the crowd here are doing a very good job. Great cheerfuls, guys. Keep these coming. I like this a lot. This is Roddy's soundboard right now. I also happen to know that the guys on Team Liquid right now have got a game going on. Whoops. We'll be back after the break. Global Finals. And thank you for your patience. We are almost ready to get back into our third game between Classic and herO. Just to update you, we will be restarting from the replay. So let's head back to your commentary team. Let's hear a big cheer for Rotterdam and Nathanius.
Thank you very much, Paul. We can't wait to continue the action of what was promising to be a very fun PvP series so far between Classic and herO. If you guys missed the game, because of course it all took a little while, but we are back now. Actually, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the game immediately. Now, Nate, all right, so the current state is 25 workers for Classic, 15 workers for herO. This is still, there is one Oracle on the map, and you can definitely say that this is a now or never situation for herO.
Yeah, I mean, when we left off, herO was in a tough spot, already losing a single Stalker, and this Dark Shrine is, you know, that's his ace in the hole. It's all he's got left to try and swing this one back. He has a single pylon, I believe, out on the map, but can he stop the gateway aggression coming from Classic trying to end this game?
No, that's actually going to be very difficult because it's Blink Stalkers on either side, but it's 11 Blink Stalkers for Classic, and he creates a force field with them as well. Eventually, of course, herO is able to blink over those Stalkers too, but this is going to be very, very difficult for CJ. Enters herO. He's down in army supply. He doesn't have a whole lot. He's going to warp in offensive Dark Templars and just go for a full-on base trade. So his only chance, I guess, is... Oh, that's really weird.
And he comes back. I'm a little surprised by this choice. He doesn't have enough army to actually fight against this. Now those two Dark Templar are going to run in. Well, I mean, he still can't fight this army head-to-head. The Nexus is going to try to buy him some time. He's, I guess, yeah, just trying to force a base trade.
Yeah, but he needs to kill the Oracle. The Oracle is actually coming back home now. Because if he had a couple of Stalkers that ran across the map, then theoretically he would have had a very small chance, but it won't matter, as Classic was so far ahead, of course, in this game, that he is going to get his first point on the scoreboard. CJ and his herO is still leading, but it's 2-1.
Yeah, so herO, if you guys have just joined us, started off 2-0, pretty convincing Game 1 victory. Game 2, things got a little bit dicey. He was able to eke out an advantage. And of course, if you haven't seen our earlier series today, we are on our second quarterfinal. The first series, we saw a victory for MMA, 3-1 over Bomber. So we're starting to get things going a bit here at the World Championship.
Yep, and that was definitely a surprise. If you haven't been watching a whole lot of StarCraft 2 lately, well, Bomber was a big name coming into this tournament. He's been on an incredible hot streak. He's been winning tournaments back-to-back pretty much. Actually, that's exactly what he did. He won 2 very big tournaments back-to-back. Of course, WCS America Season 3 and the Red Bull Battlegrounds in Washington, D.C. but it was not enough. He did drop earlier today in the quarterfinals against MMA. This is our second series. On paper, for the majority of the fans, the diehard StarCraft 2 fans out there, herO is the favorite going into this series. And you could say the first two games he was definitely living up to that. Game number 3, Classic bringing out a risky build, because just to refresh your memory at home, because it's been we had a little bit of a pause. Well, we have some awesome cosplay in the house as well. Of course, that game started off with that crazy proxy Stargate, and that first Oracle pretty much determines how the game can possibly go, and in this case, how the game would go.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss the start of the game, basically the Stargate was proxied. herO was not able to get a scout into Classic's main base, so he had no idea what was going on. His mothership core wasn't ready in time with the photon overcharge. His Stalker actually left his base to scout as well, and because of that, he didn't have anything to defend. So he started the game very far behind against Classic. And moving forward now, I think maybe he plays a little bit more conservatively. Don't want to move too many pieces out too early from his base.
Nope. It was a little bit unfortunate, like you said, that one Stalker. I don't think that anything could have actually gone worse for CJ and his herO in that situation. The Mothership Core was a little bit out of position. The Sentry was very exposed, and the Stalker left the Sentry behind. He abandoned him. He was not a good friend.
He left him behind. Sentry's not particularly good, of course. The Oracles deal bonus damage against them. So, I mean, how many times can you really bust that out, though? The Stargate play, we've seen a couple of games back and forth, but you can't rely on that Oracle coming in and killing 6 workers, and then, the follow-up second Oracle getting 12 kills, because if the first Oracle doesn't really do much, making the second one is almost, even more risky.
No, I totally agree with you. This was awesome for Classic, of course. That's an awesome way to get your name up on the board. He's still in this series. Now you can basically look at this saying this is the best of 3 that I'm going to try to win 2-0. That's the only way for Classic to look at it. As of course we are playing a best of 5, but the score is currently 2-1 in favor of herO. But it's still doable. PvP is a crazy matchup. If you even up the score, then even a player, even an experienced player like CJ and his herO, he's going to get a little nervous when you're up 2-0 and then it's 2-2, and there is so much on the line here, of course, the WCS Grand Finals.
Yeah, I mean, herO, I think it was very interesting before we went into our break. We got to hear MC kind of discuss something that happens to a lot of these Kespa players, because their normal practice environment for Pro League, they have team houses and whatnot, and these guys, we have awesome crowds like this. These guys aren't maybe as used to playing in front of them, and herO has had a couple of those experiences, of course, the Intel Extreme Masters tournaments that he's won, but also the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, where, he played a best of 9 for $100,000 and lost.
But he still had the experience.
Yeah.
That's a very valuable experience in many ways.
Yeah, at the very least, how many individual matches are really going to drive you crazy? It's good. It's a good mental posture to have, where you're not really, where you're able to focus on the game and not be concerned about all the fans out there with their signs and just excited spectators.
No, Katowice was massive, of course, as well. Huge live audience over there back then. So he did have the full-on experience. He knows how it is. Still, there's always a little bit of extra pressure when it is the biggest tournament of the year, when it is the grand finals of the WCS, something that all these players have been basically looking forward to throughout the entire year. What's kind of funny, and that's something that both these guys have in common, is that they started off really well, gathering a lot of points. Then at a certain point, they actually looked at the ranking, and it was like, Classic and herO, they're actually really going to have some score some points soon, desperately, because they were starting to fall closer and closer to that cutting point at the 16. But both of them actually had an excellent performance at the Kespa Cup a couple of months ago, and that gave them the points to qualify for the grand finals where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, looking at herO's PvP, he, playing against Zest, we saw some pretty gnarly games, especially involving proxy gateways, which, we still haven't quite yet seen the cheese. And, honestly, herO, he gets 2-1, things are getting a little bit more dicey. Maybe you wouldn't want to try something as crazy, but, herO can be a little bit crazy himself sometimes.
Yes. Kind of wondering about the map, because we sort of missed the map vetoing process, but there's a good chance that the next map will be Overgrowth. I don't really think that either of these two players would veto Overgrowth, and that's a very straightforward map. It's a map where you can't really get away with a proxy Stargate. It's not a map where you are going to proxy a Twilight Console, because it will get spotted the majority of the time, especially on this level when the guys are this good in this mirror matchup as well. So, if Classic wants to even this one up, Nate, he's going to have to play it straightforward. He's going to have to play it solid, and he's just going to have to be straight up better than herO. 3-4 games into the series, there's not much room left for tricks.
Yeah, and we got confirmation the map will be Overgrowth for the next game. And you said it, 2-player map. You know where your opponent is, so scouting is very easy. Most of the proxy locations, because of how small this map is, are very easy to scout. It's not too tricky to figure out where your opponent's going to place something. And that, as you said, if you're forced to play a straight-up game so far, we've seen herO eke out those wins. Classic's victory was, for better or worse, off the end of that unscouted Stargate that allowed him to get in and deal a lot of early economic damage.
Yep, and like you said, this was great play, was great strategy, but not something you can bring out too many times in one series. So I'm really looking forward. Of course, I recently had the pleasure of watching herO play against MC. I mean, obviously you were there too, Nate. I would almost forget. That's how much I got caught up in that series. Because MC versus herO in the round of 16, that was a fantastic series. They played on Overgrowth as well, and that was the game where herO had that remarkable comeback, where he was down to 2 Colossus against the 5 of MC, and he somehow still managed to win that game. Now, that just already sounds unrealistic, because that's not supposed to happen. If anyone has 5 Colossus against 2, then the player with 5 wins the majority of the time in PvP.
Yeah, herO made a really great use of his Warp Prisms for reinforcements in that match, being able to catch off the side of the Colossi and really holding on to his third base economy, which really helped him to just power out a couple of those extra zealots that he used, since he was able to deny economy. And MC put up a really good fight. Classic is not really the same type of beast when we look at the play styles from them, especially in matchups outside of this, but it's just really tough for me to look at where Classic needs to make changes in his overall game plan to win if this goes long against herO, because I just don't think he's going to get away with anything like a proxy Stargate, or at least if he tried it, it wouldn't get him the same lead that it did on Merry-Go-Round.
herO obviously loves his Blink Stalkers, and Overgrowth is not necessarily the best map in the current map pool for it, but it's a good map. There are multiple ways to get into the main base, and it's just such an easy map to dictate the pace of the game once you start off with your Blink Stalkers. This is something that Classic obviously knows as well. He had plenty of time to prepare for this series too. Not as much as for his first one, where he played against Polt in the round of 16, but still a solid 4 or 5 days. And all of these players, just to give you guys a small inside look behind the scenes, have been doing their homework, and it's every single time I walked past Teja's computer, he was watching games of innovation, just like every single time. And it's really fun to see how much they study as well. And I would actually just love to hear, what are you looking for? But they don't really give away that much information just yet.
No, we don't see it until they make some weird, crazy magic happen when the actual series starts up. But that's the tricky part, though, for some of these guys, like innovation. I guess now that we're in the top 8 of the World Championship for WCS, you get into this position where most of these guys have a lot of games that you can watch, and when you look at the players that people are really favoring to win all of this, maybe Classic, maybe Son aren't as high, because more people have seen players like Life in the non-Korean tournaments, playing in the Intel Extreme Masters, and in the same hand, Innovation when he was playing for Team Acer, and Teja, who's won more Premier titles than pretty much everybody else in StarCraft 2 history.
All right, the stage is changing, which gives me the idea that we might just hop into Overgrowth real soon. And I can't wait for it. Of course, Overgrowth is a 2-player map. It is the most popular map in the current map pool of StarCraft 2. It is a map that you pretty much always like. Doesn't really matter what race you are. Of course, there's always personal preference, and some people will say like, I really do not enjoy playing PvZ on this map. But overall, Overgrowth is a very popular map, and I'm expecting straightforward play from both these guys. This is not a map where, like I said, there is a whole lot of room for tricks and other stuff, other shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, the small rush distance, the only thing that, really immediately jumps to my mind is, of course, I like my aggressive builds, so, maybe a 2-gate somewhere. A man can dream.
Yeah, that would be a true deja vu for herO if that would actually happen and that wouldn't go right. Then I think he might just storm out of that booth. But I don't think we're going to see any crazy proxies. I do think we are going to see Blink Stalkers, though, Nate.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's almost never really bad in PvP to go for them, because you have the mobility to win in any environment. The terrain won't affect you as much. The force fields, of course. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. It looks like we're just about ready to jump into this. Hopefully you guys are having fun here at BlizzCon. This has been a really awesome event so far. Lots of cool news, lots of cool folk coming out and enjoying some awesome StarCraft games. And well, hopefully we get an equally awesome finish to this series.
And